here we are. And let's make sure that the sound is properly where it needs to be. Sound level. Oh, that's dropping. There we go. Sure that the microphone volume is actually up so that you folks can actually hear me. If you are indeed out there. And we shall see if you are indeed. Finally got a placeholder video set for, preparing for the show. And hopefully that's now cut away. We're into the show proper. Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Storyteller's Corner. I'm your host, Joshua T. Calkins Trubergy, also known in various places as Byron Insidious. And per the name of this stream, the primary focus that I am going to be set on today is Amazon once again screwing the pooch quite royally. Came out in several ebook and publishing related websites a couple of days ago that Amazon has decided to make the brain leaking decision that they are going to, effective today, terminate side loading for the Amazon Kindle devices and applications. What is side loading? Since the inception of the Amazon Kindle device, one of the primary methods for loading up ebooks onto your Kindle reading device or application has been to go on your Amazon account, purchase an ebook, and download it to your computer, whether it be a laptop or a desktop, what have you, and then later on utilize a USB dongle device or cord in order to connect your computer to your Kindle and to load the ebook file from your computer to your reading device or application. Amazon has made the brain dead decision to terminate this option for ebook purchasers. They've also changed their terms of service as regards ebook purchases through Amazon. Now, I would not normally be over worried about this, except I am a storyteller who has a number of titles available for sale on Amazon and will probably continue to in the future. However, I'm not a fan of this policy because this policy puts all of the power and all of the authority over what a person owns into the hands of Amazon. It effectively puts them in a state that competes with the likes of Ubisoft and similar companies in the video games industry, where they have taken the stance that when you purchase a digital product, you're not actually purchasing the product itself. Their terms of service are going to now clarify that an Amazon.com purchase of an electronic format book, an ebook, is a purchase of a license to view the material therein. A license that is non transferable, that is non negotiable, and can and will be altered and or terminated at the whim and beck and drop of a hat by Amazon.com. So from now go moving forward, and they are making this retroactive, which is another scumbag move on Amazon's part. If you make a purchase of an ebook through Amazon, you no longer own the book. You only own a temporary license to access the material. In order to load your your ebook purchase onto your Amazon Kindle device or application, you have to sign in to the site. You have to have internet access through your device and can then load the file onto your device. You can turn off Wi Fi at that point or turn off internet access and you will have the book. However, the very next time and every time thereafter that you turn on internet access through your device or application, Amazon will scan your device to to see if the license is still valid, if your account is still in good standing, and if you therefore continue to have access to your purchases, to your licensed material. This is horseshit, and it is further proof that having an actual physical book in hand is the way to go. Because going forward, if Amazon decides that you have behaved in a naughty fashion, they will revoke your right or ability to continue utilizing the material that you've paid good money for. Now, there are many ways to sidestep this problem, one of which is to not purchase your ebooks from Amazon. In the link below, you will find, or sorry, in the description of this stream below, you'll find a link to my own latest offering in the ebook realm, a fourth age Temilarian tale entitled Not So Epic, the tale of one Dren Laggett, an apprentice blacksmith in the city of Desanatron, who's unfortunately found himself working for a has-been drunkard, who finds that despite his despite his desire to live a quiet, peaceful life as a highly skilled smithy, a life that would not exactly be epic. The gods have a sense of humor, and rather a twisted one. And the purpose of a blacksmith in most fantasy tales is to provide weapons and armor and equipment for the fabled noble hero who is embarking on a mighty quest to either slay dragons or demons, to conquer the ever marching evil forces that are rampaging across their fantastical continent or lands, and to be victorious. That is the quest of a truly noble and epic hero. But Dren's hero in question, one Andrei Dolstov, a freelance adventurer minotaur. Andrei's a bit of a drunk too, and he's not exactly heroic. As a matter of fact, the beginning of his tale is rather circumspect and not pleasant. But Dren is going to find himself lashed to this gentleman for the remainder of the tale. He and his friend Holly Redtail and his master Smithy are going to be accompanying Andre as he attempts to requisition a weapon that is prophesied to vanquish an outer world foe come to render chaos and destruction in the realms of Temelaria. In other words, Andre needs this smithy in order to forge this weapon of prophecy. And why does he need this weapon? Because it shall be wielded by a righteous monk, a monk whose brotherhood has long foretold of this prophecy, an order whose warriors have been training for the day when one of them might be named the prophesied hero who will wield this legendary weapon to vanquish this outworld threat. Just one problem. The prophesied hero. Well, Andre may have accidentally knocked in a door and crushed the young man's legs. So, how exactly? By heading to the link below and picking up your copy of Not So Epic, available now on the Lulu storefront. It is going through the process of being made available through distribution to other outlets such as Kobo Books, Google Books, and yes, eventually Amazon, because there is no method right now of removing distribution to Amazon. If you go for the global distribution package uh, application through Lulu as a storefront and printer, if you choose global distribution, Amazon is one of the distribution partners, so you don't really have much of a choice. They're in the network through Lulu. They are included. However, I would recommend that if you are interested in young Dren Leggett's story and the tale of Andrei Dolskov, that you head to the link below. Now, if you want to get an idea of what you'll be looking at in terms of the story and what exactly it is that Dren has to contend with, here we go. You can also head to thestorytellerscorner.substack.com. And I recommend that because the first 5 chapters of Not So Epic are available free to read on the Substack to get yourself an idea of whether or not this will be the sort of fantasy tale that piques your interest, rather than just have you fly blind into the story. I'd like to, as always, offer the opportunity for potential readers to whet their whistle and kind of get a preview for the characters and the story that will be meeting them should they choose to make the purchase at the link below. But this is a boneheaded move on Amazon's part overall. I'm not going to guarantee they're going to lose sales because I'm not a psychic. I'm not the sort of prognosticator who will come right out and say, well, this is going to happen because of X, Y, and Z. I can't foretell that. But I have a strong suspicion. I have a very strong suspicion that what they are doing here is going to bite them mightily in the ass. Because we've come to the point nowadays as a general audience that we don't generally accept this kind of nonsense. It isn't the done thing. And it isn't the done thing because for so long people have sort of become accustomed to getting, I don't know, abused with this nonsense. But we are turning a corner culturally. We have been for the last, I'd say, couple of years. We are not we are not okay with being told that what we expect should be a low bar. We're no longer willing to say, yeah, you can go ahead and screw us over. And we're okay with not owning the things that we pay for because we're not. It's strange to think that this began with the video games industry. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, folks. I'm doing this quick revision. This needs to be general access. There we go. There we go. Now, did that change? Okay, that changed. Well, now, why is that now impending? Okay, a lot of things have been switched over to pending. Great. Sorry. Trying to clean some things up on my own Lulu storefront, and certain options needed to be changed. Just an energy drink, folks. I drink a lot of them. I intake a lot of caffeine. Um, but it started when a couple of years back, the president of Ubisoft came out and made the boneheaded statement that gamers should get used to not owning their games. This is a sentiment that actually goes back even further than Ubisoft. It goes back to the World Economic Forum and to Klaus Schwab. This whole concept of you will own nothing and you will be happy. Horseshit. I'm sorry. The concept of you're going to work and you're going to give us your money for product X, Y, or Z. Oh, shit. Missed a couple there. And by the way, at the end of it all, the money that you give us for product X, Y, or Z, you're going to give us that money, and that's ours. I got to fix this. Yeah, fix it later. Sorry. I had to buzz my head this morning. A little self conscious about it now because I screw it up every time. Um, this concept of you're going to work, you're going to labor away, we're going to take a portion of your money in taxes. Okay, there's a certain social contract that we agreed to be participants in our societies. That we agree that okay, yes, you're going to carve away some of the money for that. But then this WEF directive or drive to tell people that they're also going to pay for products that they will never actually own. They'll have use of that product or that service for so long as the keepers of that product, the makers of that product or service, deem them worthy of access to that product or service. But that access can be taken away, snatched away at the drop of a hat if you say or think the wrong thing, if you do the thing that we don't like, sociopolitically or ideologically. If you say the naughty word, you're out, you're banned. Fuck you. We've already worked our asses off to earn the money to pay for the thing. You purportedly offer a product or a service for sale. And in good faith, we exchange our hard earned money for that good or service. You don't get to just snatch it away just because you don't like what we do with the product or service, so long as it's not illegal. That's a whole other matter. That's horse crap. And it's tiresome that there are constantly people trying to defend this notion of, well, what did you expect, bro? It's digital. That should not mean that you can take it away from me without notice, without warning, without just cause. If you're going to take my property, you need to compensate me for it. This is a concept that is cemented in the Constitution. You cannot. I believe it's the Fifth or Sixth Amendment. Um, you no, not the Fifth Amendment. It's the Sixth or Seventh Amendment. It's in the Bill of Rights. I'm sorry, I'm not a constitutional scholar. Um, Clearly, but this is horse pucky. You can't just take away something that I've paid good money for just because it's digital. The whole arc of history is supposed to be one of progress and evolution. In the area or arena of entertainment and art, many of our products nowadays are digital in format. This saves physical space, it saves on the requirements of production and distribution. It's supposed to be a money and space and materials and resource saving measure. If you don't have to print a physical book and store it on a physical shelf, that's supposed to be a convenience of accessibility and storage. Furthermore, digital products, we were told long ago when ebooks first became a thing and when digital games became a thing, we were told this will drive down the price point. Except when I go on Amazon.com, new release ebooks cost just as much as a physical copy. Why? There's no expense for printing the actual physical paper. There's no expense in sourcing the material to produce the book. There's no physical cover. Why are you going to charge someone the same amount for a digital version, which is effectively a homunculus, a digital homunculus? It's ethereal. It's not tangible. You can't pick it up and touch it and experience it without the intermediary of an electronic device. You need to have a physical thing in order to interact with the digital product. So, one way or the other, all digital, it's not all digital. You still need a physical piece of hardware in order to interact with the digital product. My point being, we were promised that we would save money and space, that there would be convenience, and it would be fiscally sound to purchase digital rather than physical, having to take up a whole bunch of storage space in your home. Frankly, I would not trade away these tomes to have them digitally. I like having them physically there on the shelf. It's a lovely little collection of mythology tomes there. The point being, we have made an agreement on our end as the purchasers of books, movies, television shows, video games. We have kept up our end of the bargain. We have made the purchase. The people who are the corporations who are producing this material are now changing the terms because, as ever, they're attempting to stay in the black, to stay fiscally relevant. And they have a fiduciary responsibility to do that to shareholders if they're a publicly traded company. I understand that. I'm not enough of a dipshit to not understand the economics of the thing. But I am enough of an advocate for the actual customer, the reader, the gamer, the viewer, the listener, if it's music. We as the audience, if we're going to put in the effort to earn the money to purchase the product, then god damn it, that should be an actual purchase. This idea that you can just change some words in the terms of service and alter the entire understanding and landscape of this exchange is bloody nonsense. There's only one beneficiary in that exchange. It's the publisher or producer of the product or service. The customer gets completely hosed. How is this okay? The answer is it's not. Now, thankfully, Lulu does not do this DRM horseshit with its native files or ebooks. It's why once again, I encourage you first, head to Substack, navigate to Not So Epic, read the first couple of chapters, and if it piques your interest and is the sort of fantasy tale that you believe that you would like to have a copy of, then head to the link in the description to purchase the ebook from the Lulu storefront. And moving forward, I am going to be going through the process of ensuring that as much of my material as is commercially available as possible, if it is still on Amazon, I'm going to be going through the process throughout this calendar year of making sure it's all available in other locations as well, so that you don't have to purchase it through Amazon. Now, there are going to be a couple of instances where, as a result of older contractual agreements that I have with prior publishers, that I can't do anything about where those materials are available. I just can't. And that's just a thing. I'm going to have to suck it up and deal with it. But moving forward from here, any book that I publish is going to have multiple avenues of distribution. And if I can't cut out Amazon completely, okay, but I'll never recommend that be the avenues through which you purchase my material. I'm going to recommend Kobo books. I'm going to recommend Barnes and Noble. I'm going to recommend half price books. I'm going to recommend thrift books. I'm going to recommend Google books. And I hate Google. But at least if you purchase a Google book or an ebook through Google Books, their terms of service, thus far, don't say you're only purchasing a license. Although, I got to be honest, folks, I half expect that Google's going to follow in Amazon's footsteps within the next 2 to 3 months. I don't foresee them holding back on their own grubbiness for much longer than Jeff Bezos. The beast of Bezos strikes again. What's one more body to the pile on the crimes against all of literature that Amazon and the beast of Bezos has committed? They already ruined the legacy of Tolkien with this Rings of Power horse shit. Why not ruin something else to do with books? You know, Amazon started off as a bookseller, and yet they're shitting all over books. I should not care this much, but I do. They are taking the art of storytelling. They are taking the exchange between storyteller and audience, and they're shoving their great big conch right in the middle of it and saying, no, 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 no. You got to pay us. And that's part of the process. I understand. That has always been part of the process. That's how these things work. The storyteller does not have a direct line to his or her audience, particularly when they are an author. They write the book, they publish the book, a publisher or distributor makes that book available to the market. That is a reasonable exchange. I understand that. That is traditionally how it has always gone, at least in the modern era. Once upon a time, yes, there were bards who traveled the countryside and carried their songs and their stories with them. They were the presenter, they were the publisher, they were the producer, they were the distributor. And these bards, they would carry their tune and their tales from court to court, from village to village. They did it in person, they did it themselves, and some would gain a reputation for being masterful presenters of these stories, of these tales. You look at the Romany, okay? That is a large part of how they maintained themselves in their nomadic clans and tribes. As many of them were performance troupes, or they had two or three songstresses or poets who would perform for their keep, for their daily bread, for their lodgings. They would travel about and they would put on performances and they would entertain the public in exchange for for food, for lodgings. This was their way of life for many of the clans. Same with Irish travelers. They kind of ripped off the Romany. They borrowed the lifestyle, as it were, and then kind of twisted it and made it their own weird thing. Well, not weird, just kind of parallel. The point being that we are no longer in an era where that is the main methodology of sharing these experiences and these stories with people. We now, as authors, we write out the story, we draft it, and redraft it, and we edit it and redraft it and edit it again. And then in our final frustration, we hand it off to somebody else and say, I'm too close to this. Can you please help tear me apart? Because I need to make sure this is the best version of the story that I can give to people. It's then printed, bound in the covers of a book, and shipped off, distributed to booksellers, whether they be brick and mortar or online. And the public decides whether or not they want to purchase or borrow that book from a library or from a friend or whoever, however. And we go from there. But Amazon is screwing the pooch. They have no regard for the relationship between storyteller and audience. They have no respect for it. They have no regard for it whatsoever. And I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised. I shouldn't be shocked. I'm appalled, yes. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm offended, because from a business standpoint, I understand why they're doing what they're doing. I just think it's a boneheaded decision. It's going to make folks like me, who are small timers, who are not household names in terms of storytelling, it's going to make folks like myself really hesitant to want to work with Amazon in the future. There are plenty of authors who have their own websites where you can purchase their titles through, but there's still going to be an intermediary. There's still going to be a distributor partner who is involved in the process of taking that click from the author's website and processing that as a purchase through the printer and then mailing that out. So there will still be middlemen, but at the very least, those middlemen won't be Amazon if it can be avoided. Mm, oh, would you look at that? Okay, so that did carry. Still, good to see. Good to see. So yeah, what else is there really to say about that? I can't pretend to be unaware of why they're doing it. Um, Amazon, like any other large distributor or retailer, is trying to gain as much control over their particular market as they can. And this kind of it rolls all the way back into what I mentioned before, that Amazon began with Bezos and a couple of his buddies working out of his garage as a book retailer. For a long time, books have been a loss leader on Amazon. They make the majority of their money selling other consumer goods on their website. But what you also have to be cautious of is that, or be aware of, is that Amazon also has quite a bit invested in AI, in the advancement of generative AI. And they've already been busted a number of times over the course of the last couple of years, selling ebooks from authors who don't actually exist. They've been utilizing tools like ChatGPT in order to throw together digital slop that's not written by a human being. They're slapping together AI generative art for covers, throwing a fake name on there, and selling ebooks that have no human involved in the process outside of somebody clicking a few buttons and saying generate. And they are pumping out 20 to 50,000 word ebooks and selling them on Amazon.com for like $1.99 or $2.99, or they're throwing them on the Kindle Unlimited program so that they can get people to subscribe to that and have access to this gigantic database of books that they can freely borrow and read through at their leisure, oftentimes without even recognizing that what they are reading wasn't actually written by a human being. There's no actual storyteller on the other end of many of these books or ebooks that Amazon is throwing out there. It's enough to drive a person crazy. I didn't have to be driven there. I already reside in crazy. So, I don't know. For me, I don't even need to change my postage or my shipping address. I'm already at crazy. So fun stuff there. I'm going over and reviewing my catalog here to ensure I have general access cited for my work on there. Uh, Looks like everything is where it needs to be, generally speaking. Let's go back to the beginning of the listings. Distribution, in distribution, good. General access, good. General access, good. General access. It's already been approved. It's already been approved. Already approved. Already approved. Distribution pending. Okay. So it would seem that my storefront there is mostly looking good. Um, in other publishing news for myself, I know I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I have a rather ambitious calendar year ahead of me. I've got at least three more books that I am hoping to get produced and put out on the market this calendar year. All three of the remaining titles that I'm hoping to get out there into distribution this year have already been finished. They're already complete novels. Well, two complete novels and one short story collection. Um, I just need to go through the process of actually um, putting together a book cover, working with Miss Weeks who does my cover art. I think I mentioned this before. The person who does a lot of my cover art, not all of it, but she does quite a lot of it. Um, Her and I have an equivalent exchange understanding, which is effectively I send her a copy of everything that I write that is being made for commercial publication, free of charge. And when she's done reading it, she makes a cover for me. That's the exchange her and I have had for the last couple of years. That's not always going to work out, and I'm aware of that. And I know that I am going to be facing pretty soon having to pay up to actually give her cash money, well, you know, digital format, um, via PayPal. Which, yes, I signed up for PayPal again. Um, they seem to have fixed a lot of their security issues, which were a big to do for me. And while I still am a little concerned about the constant and ever present sort of Damocles hanging over any user's head should they fall on the wrong side of PayPal's socio-political stances, they're not as bad about it as Stripe seems to be these days. Besides which, I'm not exactly the most controversial person in the world. For the most part, I talk about books, fantasy, horror, sci-fi on occasion. I'm not as heavy into sci-fi as a writer. I've made that point before, though, and I don't want to trudge over the same old territory over and over again. So sorry about that. But anywho, yeah, that's really about it. Um, a couple more Temelarian tales to get through production and distribution this year, including Fodder Squad and From Home to Home. I'm going to get those produced and distributed this year. The first 5 chapters of each of those stories is also available up on the Substack, so you can get kind of a head start as those tales get through production and distribution readiness throughout the year. Then there's the short story collection Free Spirits, which I've wrapped up the last story entry for that collection. I'm going to be going through and editing that collection starting this week, or rather next week. I'm going to go through and start editing that. And then I still have to finish writing a final chapter or a couple of wrap up chapters for Five and Dime. I don't know if I'm going to finish that and have that edited and redrafted and tightened up, ready for production and distribution this calendar year. That may end up being an early 2026 publication, um, in large part because I am highly anal retentive and I like to excoriate myself as much as possible in the self-directed editing process to make sure that what I am offering to readers is the best possible version of the story. And if it's not, and I can tell that it's not, I'm not going to throw it out there because people deserve better than half-assed slop, which is for the most part what they've been getting from the big names in entertainment for the last few years. And people don't deserve to have to put up with that forever. That needs to change. And I'm just a little guy, just one guy here, but I'm hoping to be part of contributing to that change. Um, Last note before I kind of sign off from this live stream for the day. The next video essay I'm going to be doing for the YouTube and Rumble channel and for Substack will be yet another seems to be a pattern for me recently. Transformers themed essay. I'm going to be taking a look at analyzing Starscream, the fetsy little conniving second in command of the Decepticon forces. I've been rereading some of my collection. Like, again, this is another reason why caution to anything digital. Thankfully, I have my digital copies of the IDW run of Transformers comics loaded on a thumb drive. That's secure. I'm not going to have to be worried about losing those. But particularly in the Robots in Disguise IDW arc, Starscream was more than just some bumbling conniver. He was much more of a political strategist. He was a lot more greasy and underhanded in his manipulation of his position within the Decepticon ranks, utilizing Soundwave's capacities as a telepath, which is something I briefly touched on in my video on Soundwave. That's one of his big advantages against other Decepticons who are trying to finagle their way up the power structure of the Decepticon forces. Is Soundwave has surface level telepathic abilities. He can read the minds of other Cybertronians and some biological life forms. This is a very useful ability. And there's a couple of spots in the Robots in Disguise IDW run from it was 2011, 2012 to 2014, 2015, where Starscream actually makes use of that ability to his great benefit. But he kind of grumbles because, you know, Soundwave is kind of a moral arbiter for the Decepticon forces. Hey, Lucian, how you doing, brother? You hopped on just as I was ready to kind of start winding down for the show. My apologies for that. But yeah, the next, like I said, the next essay, the next video essay will be focused on Starscream, um, traitor, backstabber, dreamer. In a weird way, yes. The story behind the Seekers turns out Seekers was not originally. Uh, I don't worry about it, Lucian. Um, Seekers was not a term originally coined by the people writing Transformers. It was actually it was advertising copy put in the 1988 Christmas holiday uh, uh, advertising run from the Sears Corporation when they were preparing their launch of the newest line of Transformers toys. The kind of the ad copy for the Decepticon jets, including Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker, listed them as warriors who went out to seek and destroy Autobot infiltrators and enemies in the field of battle. That they were the seekers of Autobot enemies for the Decepticon army. But they accidentally capitalized the word seekers. This got glommed onto by a number of people in the marketing and advertising department at Sears and Roebuck Company, and they left that in the copy that went out in advertisement flyers and mailers for the 1988 toy catalog or shopper's catalog. That got picked up on, by KB Toys and Toys R Us. So when those two retailers did their own version of that ad copy, they also dubbed Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker as the Seekers of the Decepticon army. The folks at Hasbro, hearing about this, decided, screw it, lean into it. The Decepticon jets are the Seekers. Yet this nowhere appeared in the Gen 1 animated series. It didn't show up anywhere in the script for those cartoons. Didn't happen. It got glommed onto because of someone fucking up in the ad copy department for Sears. But they wanted, because KB and Toys R Us wanted to compete, particularly that year at the Christmas season, they followed suit. And thus a cultural landmark was crafted. And we now had the Seekers. In Transformers lore, in the comics and cartoons, this really wouldn't take hold until the Marvel Comics Gen 2 run, when the title of Seeker was officially put into canon by the publisher, by Marvel Comics. And thus, Starscream was named the leader of the Seekers. But that's material I'll actually add into the as kind of an addendum or a supplemental note in the video essay. I gotta actually start scripting that. I gotta write that. I gotta write up the rough draft for that today for the Starscream video. But anywho, that's gonna do it for me for today, ladies and gentlemen. I know there weren't a whole lot of you watching live during this program. If you choose to come back later and watch the archived version of this broadcast, I don't blame you. And I say thank you for deciding to come back and give it a try on a second playthrough. Uh, any view is appreciated because your time is valuable to you, and it is by extension valuable to me. And I appreciate anybody who decides to take any amount of their very little bit of free time while on this earth, spending it listening to me. It's appreciated. But if you don't want to listen to me, if you don't want to take the time, if you don't have the time, perhaps instead you can head to the link in the description below and you can follow that to read me instead in the pages of Not So Epic, a fourth age Temerarian tale, brought to you by yours truly, Joshua T. Calkins Trilogy. If you're not ready to make the purchase just yet, head to the link in the banner of this, or not the link, but type in that address in the banner above, thestorytellerscorner.substack.com. You can read the first 5 chapters of Not So Epic for yourself, free of charge, as a preview to see if if you're going to decide whether or not this is the kind of fantasy fare that you'd like to indulge in. And you don't have to wait for it to come out on Amazon. If you do decide to make that purchase, you can just follow the link below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Uh, yeah, no. Yeah, this is not exactly a handsome mug. Uh, I have a handsome mug right here. Oh, I don't know if I can show that logo, actually. That's my wife's employer. It's Caribou Coffee. She's been working for them for coming up on 8 years now. Good company here in the Midwest. See, I'm not going to shill fucking the Quarterings coffee brand coffee. Get the fuck out of here. If you're in the Midwest and you want good coffee, go to Caribou. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I ask you to take care of yourselves And as always, keep reading. Ah, man. Delete room. Oh, man. Is this going to